The heart of Westminster. Well, you might not know it from some of the media coverage, but the story of the summer has been Jeremy Corbyn tightening his grip on the Labour Party. His supporters won a clean sweep in elections to the party's ruling National Executive Committee. So where does that leave some Labour MPs, the majority of whom never supported his leadership and believed it would be a disaster? He would be a disaster if he became Prime Minister. Joining me now is the Labour MP Stephen Kinnock, who yesterday launched a Spirit of Labour manifesto, and Nancy Platts, who's a former advisor to Jeremy Corbyn. She's at the Trade Union Congress in Manchester. Well, welcome to you both. Nancy Platts, do you think that's a fair summary that Jeremy Corbyn has basically tightened his control of the Labour Party?
I think what we've seen is that Labour members have spoken with a voice to elect people that they feel represent their politics onto Labour Party's NEC. And now what's taking place around the country is that members are making up their minds what kind of people they would like to represent them on their local councils, in regional assemblies and at Westminster.
It's basically a purge, though, isn't it? Latest figures show more than 100,000 people have joined Labour, but the same number have left.
Well, I think it's fantastic that we've seen a massive growth in Labour Party membership. We've now got over 500,000 members. We're the largest political party in Europe, and I think that's a good thing. What we want to do is to win the next general election, and that means building our membership, getting out there on the streets in our communities, talking to people, and with more members we can make that happen. And selecting the people that represent us is a natural part of our democracy. I've been through that process several times myself. I accept it's a membership choice, and that's what I think all of us have to do if we put ourselves forwards for elections.
Stephen Kinnock, what do you think's happening in the party?
Well, I think it's great that we have a much larger membership than we had. I think it's really good if we have a debate about the policies and the way that the party projects itself and how we win elections. What I think we are not is a personality cult. So we've got to have a space in the party to be able to put forward views on things like anti-Semitism, on how we deal with Russia, on our views on NATO, which are really important policy positions for the Labour Party. There are differing views across the broad church that we are. I don't think it's right that if you have you stand up for what you believe in within the framework of the Labour Party, but you don't always agree with every dot and comma of what Jeremy says, that you should be hounded out of the party. I don't think that's the way a democratic party should operate.
I mean, you use that expression, hounded out. Are you referring to these rolling votes of no confidence in individual MPs?
Yeah, I think that's a real worry. It's very important that that trickle doesn't become a flood. For example, the motion of no confidence against Rosie Duffield, somebody who has only been an MP for 5 minutes, who won in Canterbury a historic victory for Labour, and some party members apparently submitted a motion of no confidence, which I now understand has been withdrawn, which I think is very good. But it just makes you wonder, why would people want to be doing that, trying to unseat somebody who's just scored a historic victory for the Labour Party?
It does look, Nancy Platts, as if the people who are being targeted are people who've spoken up on the anti-Semitism issue and said that the leadership wants to do more.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I couldn't quite hear you, what you said.
I'm saying it does look as if the MPs who are being targeted with these no-confidence votes are people like Rosie Duffield, who spoke up saying the party needed to do more about anti-Semitism.
I don't see targeting. What I see is that members are speaking up and saying what kind of people they want to represent them and talking about their politics. I think we're in a time of great political change at the moment, and I think we've got to realise the impact of that. People are really concerned about austerity. They want to see change. They see the Labour Party as a party that's offered an alternative of hope over austerity. So they want to vote for us. So members are feeling really strongly that they want a voice out there speaking up for them, speaking on behalf of them, and actually saying that we want an alternative now. We want a strong alternative, and we want people that are going to go out there and speak up for us.
So you don't think Frank Field, for example, who's had a 50-year career starting out in the Child Poverty Action Group, is concerned about austerity?
Sorry, my earpiece fell out. You'll have to say that, sorry.
I said, you say you need MPs who are concerned about austerity. I'm saying Frank Field, who's one of those who's been driven out, has had a 50-year career fighting austerity, starting out with the Child Poverty Action Group.
Well, like Stephen said, we're a broad church of people. We've now got 500,000 members. It's the members that decide who they want to represent them. That's been a very clear part of our process for as long as I've been a member, which is over 20 years. It's up to us to put ourselves forward, say this is what I have to offer, to set out our stall, and then it's up to the members to make a choice. You know, where I am, at a local level, I'm a Labour councillor in Brighton. I had to go through the selection process again very recently. I only got selected and elected in a by-election in February, but I still went through that process again, and it was very much up to members to make that choice.
Do you think it's a broad church still?
What I think is so disappointing is we've actually got some really good policies on the economy coming forward. I think some of the things John McDonnell's been talking about, employee ownership, dealing with people working in the gig economy, the country is ready for radical Keynesian economics. The problem that we have is with the worldview of a small section of the hard left in our party who think that NATO is a warmongering junta, that the world is run by a shady cabal of Jewish financiers, that Tel Aviv and Washington are the root of all evil and Brussels not far behind, and they want socialism in one country. Those worldviews are the problem. I think they're what's putting off lots of ordinary mainstream voters across the length and breadth of the country. If we get a much more patriotic view of what and message about what the Labour Party is about, combine that with some of our excellent economic policies, I think we've got a winning formula. But we've got to sort that out, and we've also got to stop looking and feeling like a cult. This isn't about ideological purity. Let's have a debate about policies, not personalities, and let's stop hounding hard-working, talented Labour MPs out of the party.
OK, Nancy Platts, come in.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, you can't homogenise a group of 500,000 members into a cult or one kind of person. 500,000 people says to me that you've must have quite a broad range of views and a very broad range of people. And certainly the politics I'm experiencing at a local level in Brighton is I'm getting a warm welcome when I'm going and speaking at meetings. People are speaking up. There's a lot more people turning up to meetings than I've ever seen before. But you get thousands of people turning up to listen to Jeremy and John speak in a way that I've never been seen before in 20 years in the Labour Party. We've got some fantastic anti-austerity policies, and actually if Labour MPs had got behind Jeremy back in 2017, if we had put some resources behind more marginal seats, I think we could have got over the line in 2017. And actually, for every Labour person out there now, if we are serious about winning a general election, a split and a divide is not the way forward. The way forward is to unite, is to come together, to learn to disagree well. I think that's part of the issue we've got to resolve. Let's learn to disagree well. It's not about having heroes and villains in the Labour Party. 500,000 people says to me we must have, by default, a very diverse set of people in membership.
What do you personally think about NATO and Israel?
Well, you know, I'm here today to talk about the Labour Party, and it is up to all of us as Labour members to take part in those discussions where we feel comfortable. For us as leaders in the Labour Party in our local communities. Sorry, I can't hear what you're saying.
That's why I'm asking you what you think about NATO and about Israel.
I'm here today to talk about the Labour Party and our membership, and I've said we have got still, I believe, a very broad church in the Labour Party with over 500,000 members. And actually what I think people want to talk about on the ground in their communities is the impact that austerity is having. If you look at where I live in Brighton, where I'm a local councillor, we've got over 170 people sleeping on our streets and on our beaches. We've got people on low pay, sofa surfing, that can't afford somewhere to rent. That is the direct result of Tory austerity policies, and that's where our focus should be now. All the members in the Labour Party, every elected person in the Labour Party should now have a laser-like focus on the Tories and the damage that is being done as a result of austerity to people in this country.
OK, I get the sense that you're avoiding my questions, but I wonder if I could ask you about Peter Kyle, who's a Brighton MP. Do you think he's an appropriate person to be a candidate at the next election?
I like Peter very much. He's a friend of mine. From my perspective, if Peter wants to stand again, Peter should be allowed to put himself forward to stand again. As far as I'm concerned, he's doing a good job as a Labour MP in Hove.
When you say stand again, you mean stand again for the nomination, not that you would back him for the nomination?
Sorry, this is a really bad line. I think what you said, would I back him to stand again? He's a Labour MP in Hove. I don't live in Hove, so I'm not in his local party. I live in the city of Brighton and Hove. As I said, Peter Kyle, I would consider to be a friend of mine. He's a good local MP, and as far as I'm concerned, if he wants to put himself forward to be the MP for Hove at the next general election, he should be allowed to do so.
Do you feel under threat at all, Stephen Kinnock?
I have great people in my constituency Labour Party. We have a robust debate. We don't always agree. What I hope is they know that I always have the best interests of the party at heart. And I think what we've seen is Jeremy's been on a journey. On Brexit, he's gone from socialism in one country to accepting the need for a customs union. On Russia, he eventually accepted that expelling the diplomats after the Skripal poisonings was the right thing to do. And on anti-Semitism, he has finally accepted, or at least the NEC did, the IHRA definition. So I think in each case where some of us in the Parliamentary Labour Party have pointed out that we think the leadership is getting things wrong, it's been good to see the leadership shifting. So we're all on a journey, and we need to go on that journey together.
Is to go on fighting from inside the party?
This is my party as much as it's Nancy's party, as much as it's Jeremy's party. I've been a member of the Labour Party since 1985. It's the greatest force for good in the history of British politics. I will be staying and fighting for the Labour Party that I believe is the party that can win general elections and can transform our country.
And you'll be able to go on the doorstep and say to people, hand on heart, with all honesty, Jeremy Corbyn is the best person to be Britain's next Prime Minister when that election comes?
There's a saying in Welsh, Adam, who would be a leader must be a bridge. And what's really important is that Jeremy shows that he's ready to bridge, that he's ready to understand that some of the worldviews that we've talked about this morning are not what people across the length and breadth of the country believe in or want to hear. They don't have that anti-Western view of the world. I think if we can shift the centre of gravity of our party on those issues, then I think, and do it with authenticity and really believe that we're doing it, from the leadership all the way through the rest of the party, then I think we've got a really winning formula. We can win the next general election and transform this country for the good.
Nancy Patch, do you agree? Do you think that the Corbyn leadership now needs to be more accommodating towards those people who hold the sort of views within Labour that Stephen Kinnock's just been outlining?
Well, as you know, Adam, I worked in Jeremy's office, and I always found Jeremy and John very willing to listen. I regularly went in there and talked about the things that I thought we were getting wrong, as well as the things that I thought we were getting right. I don't think there's been ever any pretence that the Labour leadership always gets everything right, but I always found them very willing to listen. And I think, the most important thing now is that we do unite together. I don't think talk of a Labour Party split is very helpful. That's simply going to let the Tories through the middle. I absolutely 100% believe that the Labour Party can win the next general election. With 500,000 members, we have got a lot of people that we need to get out there and to mobilise and get talking to people on the doorstep. And what's become very clear to me, talking to people in my local area of East Brighton, is that people have had enough of austerity. We need to see those policies coming through about sharing wealth in the country and giving people an equal chance at life. And the Labour Party is the only party that are going to do that.
OK, thank you both very much indeed.